Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this flower beaded Kumihimo bracelet. That looks like this. So you have your basic beaded Kumihimo braid and then just a pattern of flowers in there, and I've just chosen to make my flowers different colours. You can also choose whatever colours you want to work with. So if you want to learn how to make this, then keep watching. So these are the things that we're going to need. Now first off here I've got my round Kumihimo disc because we're making a round braid. And then as for the beads, I have a selection here, and these are 4mm rounds, or also known as 6/0s in seed beads. And I just have a selection of colours here that I want to use. The green one here is going to be the background colour of the braid, and then these I'm going to use for the different flowers. But you can obviously choose whatever colours you want to work with. And then the cord that I'm going to be working with is this here, and this is a 0.4mm Eslon cord, also known as a Tex 135. And it's just a black colour I'm working with, just to have a nice neutral background colour for my different colours of beads here. And then finally, to finish off the bracelet at the end, I have some 5mm Kumihimo ends right there. It's going to fit the braid perfectly. And then just a selection of my clasp jump rings and extender chain. You can obviously use whatever you want to use. So let's get all the materials together and let's get started. So what we need to do first is get a cord ready. And what I have here is 4 lengths of 1 meter each. And then what I've done is just in the middle of all these cords, I've just tied a regular overhand knot just to keep them all together, and also using this to then attach to the Kumihimo disc. So to do that, we then need to get the disc out here and then attach all the cords. And because I put that knot in the middle, what's going to happen is we're doubling them over, so the 4 cords basically turn into 8 working lengths. So what I'm going to do is this knot is going to sit right here in the middle. So we take a few cords at a time. And then just pay attention to the dots, don't worry about the numbers, and place all the cords around the disc where the dots are, on each side of the dots. So just like this. So this gives us our 8 working lengths of cord. So now what we need to do is make a little bit of braid right here before we start adding in the beads. And then what you can also do at this point is add a weight to your braid here. So at the back of your knot, and just have it hanging down the back, because it's going to help you get a little bit of an even braid and help it pull down through the middle as well. If you don't have one, you can always make one up yourself as well. Just a little bag with some coins in it, that's absolutely fine. Or if you work better with that, that's completely up to you. But then what we need to do is just a regular 8-strand braid here. So I take my top left one, bring it down over the middle, and stay on the left side of my bottom pair. Take my bottom right one, bring it over the middle, and stay on the right side of the top. Turn my disc to the next pair, take my top left one over the middle, down to the left side of that bottom pair, the bottom right one over the middle, and stay on the right side there. And then you turn it again. So this is basically all you keep doing. You just keep doing one pair at a time, making sure you do the same thing. So if you start from the top left one like I'm doing, then keep starting from that and then turn it to the next pair. So what we need is about 1 to 2 centimeters of braid here, just before we start adding in the beads, just so we have something we can finish off the braid at the end. So keep doing this until you have that. So once you reach this point now, we have a little section of braid, it's time now to start adding in the beads. So I've now added all my beads onto all my lengths of cord here. And then this is the pattern that you want to put them in to achieve the flowers on the braid. And then what I'm just going to do now is go through all the strands individually and tell you how I set up the beads. Now what I just want to mention is the next pair that I'm due to use is my top and bottom one here. So I'm due to take my top left one, bring it down, and then my bottom right one and bring that up. And then how I set up the beads is to accommodate the way that I work. So if you work the same way as me, where you take your top left one and bring that down, and then your bottom right one and bring that up, then you want to set up beads like this. And also this goes for if you start from the bottom right one and bring that up, and then the top left one and bring that down. That's exactly the same thing. So if you use either the top left one first or the bottom right one first, then just set the beads up just like I'm showing you here. But on the contrary, if you start with your top right one, bring that down, then take your bottom left one and bring that up, or you start with your bottom left one, bring that one up, and then your top right one and bring that down, then what you need to do is swap over your cards. So in other words, if you start with your top right one or your bottom left one, that's when you then want to swap over how the beads are sitting on your cards. And there's a couple of different ways to look at how to do that. So one way is you can imagine you have a mirror in front of your disc, and then what you need to do is actually put your beads on in the mirror image. But obviously that can be a little bit difficult to imagine. So what you can do as well is just think here that we have all the cards set up on the disc, the top pair and the bottom pair here. If you can imagine, you put a line down the center between the bottom cards and between the top ones. So the disc has two sides to it. What you need to do is basically flip the sides over. So all the four cards here, these two and then these two, so one top and one at the bottom, you need to swap places with all the ones on the other side. So what that means when you're looking at the individual pairs, so we start by the top two ones here, they need to basically just swap places. So the left one goes to the right's place and the right one takes the left's place. And the same on the bottom, the right and the left one, they just swap places. And then as for the side pairs here, what you need to do is the top two, so the top on the right side and the top on the left side, they need to swap all the way across the disc like that, and then the bottom two need to swap as well, swap places across the disc. And obviously when I'm saying swap places, it's just the positioning of the beads, it's not the actual cards, but it's just all the beads on this card, for example, the top right one, they need to be in place of the top left one over here, and they need to go over there. So that's all that means. You just put the beads on in the opposite way basically. Because different people work with the Kumihimo disc in different ways. Like I said, I take my top left one and bring that down, and then my bottom right one. That's just what comes natural to me. You might do the top right one like I said, or the bottom left one. But then by switching over the positioning of the beads like I've just explained, that will accommodate if that's how you work the best. Because obviously it's best to kind of work what comes natural to you, so you're more likely to get an even braid throughout and not make mistakes. So that's what you can do then. Either put them on like I have if you work the same way or from the bottom right, or put them over in the mirrored image way, just like I've just explained. So now that we have that in order, what I'm going to do now is go through the individual strands and then the setup of the beads. And what I've done as well is I've actually taken a picture of this setup, so if you need a bit more of a detailed look at the actual beads where they sit, other than just seeing it in this video, I'm going to put a link in the description box to that picture. It's going to be on my website, so you can go and have a look there if you need a bit more detailed look at it. So what I'm going to start with here is the top two cards. It's the top pair there, because I'm due to take my top left one as the very next card that I'm bringing down to start off adding in the beads to the braid. And on this, what we have is we start with a single green card, just because I like to just have a little section of green beads before I start actually making the flowers on the braid, and that's going to help with that. So one green bead, and then we go into the pattern on this card. So that means 2 red, 2 orange, 2 blue, and then again 2 red, 2 orange, 2 blue, 2 red, 2 orange, 2 blue, 2 red, 2 orange, 2 blue, and then 2 red and 2 orange as the last ones. And then at the very end we have 1 green bead again. And that green bead is the exact same principle as the first one, just to finish off with a little section of just green where we don't have flowers right at the end of the braid. So in total on this card we have 30 beads all in all. And then on the other one here, so the right one of this pair, the one that comes down here, that's actually exactly the same. So these two cards are exactly the same pattern on both with the beads. And what I just want to say as well, that these are obviously just the colours that I'm working with. I'm using the green as the background colour for the flowers, and then the actual flowers are these colours that I've got here. So I've got red flowers, orange flowers, and then blue flowers as well. You can obviously change them out with whatever colours you want your flowers to be. So you would just say, if you don't want to use the blue for flowers, then you can just choose a different colour and replace all the blue with that colour that you want instead. So the colours are completely up to you. This is just the setup. And then now to look at the bottom pair here, so these two down here, as you'll be able to see, these are all the same colour, and it's the green one, so that's the background colour. So these two strands, both of them are just full of the green colour in my case. Obviously if you chose a different colour, that's fine, but that's just the background colour. And what I have on each is 30 of the green beads on each of these lengths. So that's then the top pair and the bottom pair there. So what we need to look at now are the cords on the sides. So if we start on the right side here, you'll see that both of these are different. So the bottom one you can see is all green beads, just like down here, and of these in this case I have 29. So there's 29 green beads on the bottom of the side there, on the right side. And as for the other one here, that's a little bit more of a pattern to that. So if you can see, this is using almost all the colours. So again, green, but also all the flower colours basically that we had up here, just in a different way. So in this one, what I have is I start out with 2 green beads, again, to make that little section of green before the flowers start in the pattern. So 2 green, and then we'll go into the pattern here. So the pattern is going to be red, green, orange, green, blue, green, red, green, orange, green, blue, green, red, green, orange, green, and blue, green, red, green, orange, green, blue, green, and then red, green, and orange, green. So at first this might seem like it's quite random because you have a mix of the colours in a different way, but actually there is a pattern to it if you look closely. First off, if you just take the greens out and just look at the flower colours, so that's red, orange, blue, red, orange, blue. If you remember up here and the top ones, we just have 2 of each colour here where we just have 1, but just look at the actual colours. Red, orange, blue, red, orange, blue. And it's the same pattern there. So the difference is we just have 2 of each colour there next to each other. Here, it's the same pattern of the colours, but it's just 1 per colour and then interrupted by 1 green bead in between. So as you can see, there is actually a connection between this strand and then the other ones as well. So the actual setup of the colours for the flowers there. So you have a connection between the colours, it's just different amounts of beads. And now for the last 2 cords that we have left to go through. So the pair on the left side of the disc here, you might be able to see you have 1 length that stands out from the rest. And that's the one up here. But first I just want to go through this one because this is actually really similar to the one that I've just gone through over here with more colours on the same strand. Now on both of these, so the multicoloured ones, the one I've just gone through here and then the one right here that's very similar, they both have 30 beads on each of them and they are almost the same with 1 little difference. You might be able to see the pattern is the same once you get into it. So red, green, orange, green, blue, green, red, green, and so on. The same pattern that we had over here. But the difference is, in this one, we started with 2 green beads and then went into the pattern. Here we start with 1 green bead, go into the pattern, and then finish on 2 green beads. So that's the difference between them. And they both, like I said, have 30 beads on each. And again, the exact same principle as that, because of the colour pattern, even though they're interrupted by green ones, they have that connection with the other ones, which is going to create all the individual flowers for the right colours. So the very final strand we have left now is the one that I said stands out from the rest, and that's this one. And as you can see, we have a colour on here that we haven't got on any of the other cords at all. And that's the yellow beads there. And those yellow beads are actually going to be the centre for every flower that we have on the braid. And as for the setup on this strand, what we're using is we're using the green and the yellow beads on this one only. So what we have is we start out with the green and then we're going to alternate between the 2 colours. So that means green, yellow, green, yellow, all the way to the end, and I finish on a green bead. Because again, what we have on this one is the same amount as on here. So that's 29 beads alternating between the green and the yellow, starting out with a green one. So this is then the setup of all your beads and all your lengths of cord here to achieve that flower pattern on the braid. So what we need to do now is actually start incorporating the beads into the braid so we can make our bracelet. And I'm just going to show you how to do that on this video as well, but what I also have is a more detailed video on how to do Beaded Kumihimo in case you're unfamiliar with it. So I'm going to put a link to that in the description box as well, so you can go and have a look at that. So then what we need to do is pick up our disc here and then continue making our braid. So what we do is continue making the braid like when we just used the cord. The only difference is now, when I take, like I said, I start with my top left one, when I take that to come over, what I need to do first is get 1 bead ready, So release the very first bead from the bunch and then bring it up here, and when you release the cord you let that drop down into the middle and then have that tuck underneath there. It might go under by itself, which is fine, but if not, you need to make sure that that bead is going to sit underneath the cords in the middle, and then bring it over and place it on the bottom there. And then the same from the bottom right. What we need to do is get the very first bead like that, and as you release the cord you let the bead drop down and make sure it tucks underneath that cord in the middle, and then bring it over. And then we turn the disc for the next pair, and again take the top left one. As you release the cord you release the very first bead and let that drop all the way down. Now sometimes you'll find that the bead drops down by itself and sits in the right place, and that's absolutely fine. If not, you can just gently tuck it in with your finger. So then we take the bottom right one, release the cord and release the bead. When you do that, let it drop down, tuck it in and bring it over, and then we turn the disc again. Then to show you again a bit up close, release the cord and let the bead drop down there in the middle. As you can see, that went under by itself, so that's perfectly fine. Place the cord back in and then grab the cord from the other pair, opposite pair there, that you're due to use. Let the bead drop down as you release the cord, just like that. And as you can see, that didn't go under by itself, so I'm just going to use my finger to tuck it in and then bring it over. So make sure that your beads go underneath all the cords in the middle, just like that. And like I said, I do have a video tutorial in detail on how to do beaded Kumihimo, so you can have a look at that. Turn it for the next pair and do the same thing. So you keep repeating this until obviously you then created your braid and used up all the beads. You reach as far as long as you want your bracelet or your final piece to be. And also, as you can see, I'm turning my disc in the same direction. It's a good habit to get into. With an 8-strand braid, it doesn't really matter what direction you turn your disc in, it's just a good habit to have. But as you can see, I'm turning it kind of anti-clockwise like this, so I'm going towards the right side of my disc. But you can also, because again, different people have different habits, so you might naturally go the other way. It's absolutely fine because this is an 8-strand braid. It won't affect the final outcome of your pattern, so you can easily turn your disc the other way around as well. But then otherwise just keep going like this until you've finished making your bracelet. So I've now continued adding all my beads here till I've run out on all my strands, and then what we need to do now is do the same that we did in the beginning, just a little section of braid without the beads, just to finish off the end here. So all you do is just continue creating your braid the exact same way without adding any more beads in, and then naturally your cord here will singe in and become just like the beginning of your braid. And again, do this for about 1 to 2 centimeters, because we're then going to use that to finish off the bracelet. So now that we've done that, what we need to do now is to secure the end in place so we can take it off the disc. So what I like to do is the pair that you've just done, just leave that for now, take the other one, and then I'm going to take cords that are diagonally opposite each other. So I'm going to start with these two, bring them across the middle of your braid, and then tie a regular overhand knot, just like that. Tighten it down. Just put your cords back in to get them out of the way. Take the other two from the same pair, a regular overhand knot, and tighten it, and then move on to the other pair. Again, take diagonally opposite each other cords, across the middle, make a knot and tighten it, and then the last two cords, do the same thing, across the middle, a knot and then tighten it. And then this just secures the end in place of a cord here, so when we take it off the disc, like now, we don't have to worry about it unraveling. It's going to be nice and secure. So just like this, and then here you have your braid with your flower. pattern on it. So this is what it looks like. So you have your flowers running down the side there, and then also on the other side. And like I said, this is just the colours that I've chosen to work with, but it ends up looking like this. And then all that's left to do is finish off the ends here of your braid. I already have a video that shows how to do that by using Kumihimo ends, so I'm going to put a link to that in the description box. So once you've done that, you can then attach your findings, and then you'll have your finished bracelet. So I've now finished off both ends of my braid here. I attached my clasp and extended chain, and then obviously once you've left the glue to dry, your bracelet is then done and ready to wear. So it looks like this. And this bracelet measures just under 7 inches. So you can kind of work out from that whether you need to be this size or maybe bigger or smaller. All you do is the setup that I showed you in this video. You just extend the pattern if you need it to be bigger, or you can take some beads off if you need to be shorter. So that's completely up to you, but otherwise this is how you make it. So you get a nice flower pattern and your beaded Kumihimo braid here. So I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this beaded Kumihimo braid but using long macadamia beads, which will give you a completely different effect than any other beads. And this is what it looks like. So because of the shape of these beads, you get this almost like scaly effect, and it's a really nice result you can get. So if you want to learn how to do that, then keep watching. And so these are the things that you'll need. Now for this we'll need to